am side-eyeing Huda because for her to give an excuse that, oh, I didn't get a chance to explore connections with people, so I don't know how to pull people for chats. No, that's not good enough. Given how much of a hoopla you were kicking and how you were kicking off every time someone pulled Jeremiah, you should know what needs to happen. It's unacceptable, and for you to go after your friend or your best friend in the villas guy doesn't make sense. And also, the challenge was dirty. I'm going to say that the challenge was dirty, as in filthy, not as in dirty, as in oh sexy. It was filthy, disgusting, and I don't get why they always want people to swap the fluids from one mouth to the other. That didn't make sense. Even the islanders themselves, you could tell, were disgusted, and so I didn't like that. Anyway, hey there, thanks for stopping by. It's Valerie. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. Click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Love Island USA, Season 7, Episode 15. I'm so sorry about the late upload. Anyway, the game is finished, and so you have the girls sit down for a chat with TJ, while the boys go and sit down with Andrea, and everyone is ecstatic. The girls, the way Huda was sitting very close to that guy, you can tell she's really interested in TJ, but TJ sadly doesn't seem taken by her. Huda's problem is that all the guys have seen her spaz out, and because they've seen her spaz out, I don't think any one of them want to be a part of that hot mess train. So they're all going to try and avoid it as much as they can. With the boys, Ace, did anyone notice that Ace had his arms crossed in front of him as though he was trying to contain himself? He was in sort of defensive mode, and he didn't want to show any interest, because the problem with Ace is he's been chasing Shirley around the villa for weeks, for days on end, and so for him to suddenly show interest in Andriella would be a bit off-putting, or would be a bit questionable, because everybody would want to know, is he in a couple with Shirley because there's a romantic connection, or is he love bombing her? That way she stays with him until he finds this person. Jeremiah was smitten. Jeremiah was smitten. And the fact that he said his type is Latina, it shows, because at the end of the day, you have the same things on Andrea that Huda has. So, the hair, the lips, the body, everything. So I guess, he has a type. He was smitten. Everyone was very taken aback because he said he was very open to getting to know her, and he was very vocal as compared to other sort of bombshells. He's always been laid back. So the idea that he's very outspoken and he's very sort of upfront about it was something new for the guys. Nick said he was open. Nick was excited. Then we had TJ say, he's number one and two are Sierra and Iris, and this was interesting because after the chats, you had Jeremiah be pulled by Andrea. What, Andrea or Andrelia? Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce her name. I will listen out carefully for it. And so you had Jeremiah be pulled, and then Huda is laughing and saying, "Oh, Jeremiah has been pulled for a chat," and it's like that should be none of your business. Whoever pulls him for a chat, whatever he does, should be none of your business. You should focus on exploring a connection or going home. With TJ, he pulled Sierra for a chat, and I feel like Sierra was his number two. I think he knew the chances of him sort of breaking Sierra away from Nick were highly unlikely, whereas maybe with Iris they would have been better. His conversation, it was very cute. Sierra said she's open to getting to know him. Nick was feeling some type of way. He kept looking that way to make sure that, his girl was still his girl. With Jeremiah said he's open to getting to know Alexandria. He said, he's happy to be stolen, and he was more or less putting it in her face that he's open. And it's like, but you're in a couple with Iris, you're doing all these things with Iris. Are you in a friendship couple, or what is it? I didn't get that. I really was taken aback, so I was pleasantly surprised because I didn't expect him to be so in your face with it. You then have a conversation between Taylor and Alandria. Taylor and Alandria are another couple I don't understand. It's either the two of them have partners at home, or the two of them have decided to just be in a friendship couple. Because the idea that they started talking about what is your day like on the farm and stuff, this is stuff that they should have been asking before. This is now the end of week 2. What exactly have they been speaking about all this time for them to suddenly be talking about that now? I didn't quite get it. Alandria said she's open to being, a farm wife. I still maintain that Taylor doesn't like Alandria as much as he makes out. I still maintain that because of how sort of nonchalant he is when he talks to her. I would have expected Taylor to be excited to sort of tell Olandria what he does for a living because this is a girl he really likes and he sees a future with. But it was more or less him just talking to anyone. He might as well have been having that conversation with Ace. And sadly, I don't see how my girl doesn't see that this man is not as into her as she thinks he is. And part of me wants to go into the telly and say to her, wake up, explore connections with other people in the villa because you're going to be left hanging if his type comes in. So you have Huda. Well, that was a bit strange for me because you had Hannah sitting on the kitchen counter with Huda. They were all eating breakfast and or whatever they were eating, and then you had Pepe, so he came across her and he just greeted her, and then she said to him, "Can I pull you for a chat?" And it's like, Huda, when you were crying and when you were at your lowest, this partner was one of the people who lifted you up. So the idea that suddenly you feel the need to explore a connection with a partner doesn't make sense. I think that man was humoring him. I don't think any of the guys that have been in the villa would want anything to do with her because he was taken aback as well, and they actually said, "Oh, I didn't expect her to call me." So they went to speak easy, and Taylor was there with Olandria. I think Taylor really likes her. That's the impression that I get. I think he really likes her because of the way he behaves. Even when Huda was walking up to go to speak easy, the way he was staring, and it's like, this is not your business. He seemed more attentive to that than he was to his own partner. His partner had to tell him to mind his business. And it's like, buddy, what's going on there? Anyway, they went in for a chat, and Hoda sort of saying, when you came in, I sort of looked at you and was expecting you to pull me for chats. And when you didn't pull me for chats, I just thought, oh, okay, maybe he's not interested. I wanted to know if you're interested. And it's like, I'm confused. I really am confused as to why she feels the need to take, none of the guys at the moment in the villa. It's a bit tricky in the sense that the girls have been fighting her battle. They've really been holding her up. So if she steals one of their guys, that's sending one of them home. So yes, it's not Friendship Island, but still at the same time with everything she's put these people through, I'm surprised that this is how she's decided to go about it. I would have expected her to pull Hannah first and say, Hannah, do you mind if I speak to your guy? And then taken the guy for a chat somewhere wide open where everyone can see it. So the idea that she decided to be very private about it and go to speak easy, I think she knew what she was doing was wrong. And I think she knew what she was doing was disrespectful because she has kicked off for less. So I'm surprised she didn't see the big deal in that. You then have Iris go to Soul Ties with TJ. That was a bit tricky for me because that was the first time I found out that Jeremiah and Iris were in a friendship couple. I didn't know they were in a friendship couple. I actually thought they were exploring a romantic connection, but with the way they're both desperate to be stolen by the bombshells, it tells me that they both knew that there was nothing there. And I think the bad blood as well from the fallout with Huda is something that was off putting for them to think, shall we explore anything here or shall we just leave it as is? For Iris to start kissing that man within a couple of hours, not even 2, 3 hours of him walking into the villa, I didn't get it because that's not how she's presented herself. So the idea that this is where we are is shocking for me because I don't understand how we've gone to her being Miss Prim and Proper to suddenly her sort of eating someone's face off. But then maybe it's because she wasn't physically attracted to Jeremiah. So you had Nick go to the dock with Adriana, and I love Nick. Nick is growing on me really this season. He has really grown on me. I think he's my favorite cast member at the moment, and so. He goes to the dock and they're having this conversation. I like how he wasn't upfront to say, I really like you, I want to get to know you, blah, 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 blah. He kept saying everyone else is excited. And so you had her ask him, when you say everyone else, does that mean you're not in the numbers? And he said, well, I am in the numbers. It's just I'm not planning on showing my cards. I'm going to keep my cards as close to the vest as possible. But it was really cute to see them flirt and talk about New Year's Eve in Brazil. Well, New Year's in Brazil, and that was really cute. I love that their conversation wasn't very sort of sexual or over romanticized, and so it was cute to see. you have everyone getting ready for bed, and the girls are talking, and it comes up that Huda pulled Pepe for a chat, and the girls are feeling some type of way. Hannah is feeling some type of way because she was one of the people that really held Huda up when she was breaking, and so the idea that she would go and sort of pull her guy for a chat without asking her first is something she didn't like. She even said the same thing to Pepe, and everyone was just side eyeing because they couldn't understand. It was so random. No one could understand exactly where that came from. Um, Everyone goes to bed. I think one of the Love Island producers is always eyeing the people in bed, and they know who's getting frisky, and they immediately focus on them. I didn't like the fact that they showed us, Nick and Sierra doing that. It wasn't necessary. In the morning, Sierra is on cloud nine. She's smiling from ear to ear. I love that the girls teased her and made her feel comfortable, and it wasn't awkward when she was talking about it with Alandria and Shirley, because their beds, I think, are close to one another because their guys get along very well. Everyone made breakfast, and then Jeremiah made breakfast for Iris and for Andrea, and you could see Huda just looking at him, and it's like, Huda, you need. I know it's painful, but try not to show him that you still care, because the more you show him you care, the more he's going to do stuff that's going to break you down further. Everybody else got their breakfast. Even Austin served breakfast to Amaya. And then you had TJ come up with coffees. He brought a coffee for Amaya, Iris, I think, and Sierra. I've forgotten who the fourth person was because he actually brought four of them. And so when he gave the girls coffee, he left, and then he came up with Sierra's breakfast and a drink. And Nick was so jealous, he took away the cup that TJ had left, and the guys were laughing in the kitchen because they said, "You're very messy." And he said, "Well, I'm not going to give him an opportunity to sort of open that door." You then had Nick come and pull Ace for his hat, and they had a conversation about his couple. He's very happy in his couple. And Nick, I don't know whether it's the nurse in him or whatever. The fact that he was saying, it was a very good 25 minutes. I'm normally slower, but that 25 minutes was amazing. And so this problem I think that's happening is the girls are giving it away too quickly. Huda was quick to have a CX with Jeremiah. A few days later, they fell out. Hannah has done the same thing, and now there's problems in the house with Huda. And I hope the same thing doesn't happen to Sierra and Nick, because I really like them as a couple. I think they're cute together. So I can't, hopefully, this doesn't affect them in any way. And I like that Ace was quick to tell him that you need to know that emotionally you two have moved on to the next stage, so be mindful of that. The islanders are just lounging around the villa, and then Iris receives a message. Iris receives a message that says, "Islanders, it's time to stop following the head in today's challenge. What's your beef?" And it's like, oh, this is about to be messy. This is about to be messy. Even everyone in the villa knew that something was about to go down, because production is not going to allow them to have peace in that villa, because then ratings are going to go down. So we need drama. So we get to see the islanders. They go to play the next challenge, which is "What's Your Beef?" This was messy, 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 messy. I don't know who that producer is, or whoever comes up with that game. They need to sit down somewhere. Anyway, so what would happen is they would wheelbarrow each other out of the barn, or what looked like a barn, and they'll go through an obstacle course. Then they would get to sort of pick out two names, one for the guy, one for the girl, of someone they would explore something with if they were not in their current couple. And then from there they would go and milk a cow, put the milk in the bucket, read out what it says on the bucket, and then go and make out. So first up was Taylor and Alandria. They picked up Alandria and Ace. It makes sense because I think at the moment, if Shirley wasn't with Ace, Alandria would have gone, because this is not the first time she's picked him in a challenge. Their question was, who do you think has been spreading muck behind people's backs? They chose Jeremiah. I thought it was just a cop out. I really think it was a cop out. I think maybe Taylor did that on behalf of Huda, because at the end of the day, Ace is the one who's been spreading muck, if we're being for real. Next up was Austin and Amaya. They picked TJ and Shirley. It makes sense because Austin was previously exploring something, and Amaya, I think all the other guys in the villa, she sort of put an X on them, so it makes sense she chose TJ. And then the question was, who do you think is the biggest chicken when it comes to commitment? They chose Ace. Anyone surprised? If people are going to say they're surprised, then it's a lie. They were going to choose Ace because they both have beef with Ace, so it makes sense that they would both pick Ace. Next up was Ace and Shirley. They picked TJ and Alandria. And their question was, who do you think has been planting drama and watching it grow? They picked Huda. It didn't make sense to me. I'm going to be for real. It didn't make sense why they picked Huda because Huda has been. She hasn't been planting drama. She's been creating her own drama with her partner, yes, but I don't think with anybody else. Next up, it was Iris and Jeremiah. They picked TJ and Alandria. Jeremiah had an amazing time. He really did. So, and TJ, he had an amazing time with Iris as well. Their question was, who thinks they are the cream of the crop? They chose Taylor. Reasons best known to them. I think it was just payback because Taylor and Alandria had picked Jeremiah, so that was just payback. Pepe and Hannah, they chose TJ and Sierra. Surprise, surprise. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because Sierra and Hannah are friends. And their question was, who do you think is full of bull? They picked Hannah. They picked Huda, and it makes sense because of the mess in which, or the messy way she went about trying to explore a connection with Pepe, so it makes sense. Next up was Nick and Sierra. They picked Alandria and Lendriana and Pepe, and their question was, who do you think needs to leave the herd? They chose Jeremiah. I think they chose someone they knew was Nick's friend, and I think they didn't want to choose Huda, so this is why they picked Jeremiah because they thought it made more sense. Otherwise, Huda would have thrown a fit. Huda, on her part, chose to go with Pepe, and then she chose to kiss TJ. Their question was, who do you think is making the biggest mistake? She chose Jeremiah. I didn't get it. What's the biggest mistake? What, leaving her? I don't think so. I think leaving her was for the best for both their mental health. TJ chose Iris and they chose Sierra and Nick. At one point, they were kissing, the partner they had chosen, and then they switched over and Nick and Sierra were kissing, and TJ and Iris were kissing. And the question was, who do you think has been acting too chicken to speak their mind? They chose Hannah, and it is Hannah because at the end of the day, Hannah is not happy with what's going on between Pepe and Huda, so it makes sense. Huda was already in her feelings. She said, "Oh, people say it's a game, but I feel some type of way." And it's like, yeah, you're entitled to feel some type of way, but at the same time, you have been moving about messy in the villa. Alandria and she chose Nick, and then they chose Iris and Jeremiah. And the question was, who do you think is a side chick? They chose Iris. I didn't get that. I don't know whether she meant Iris is a side chick in regards she came in and sort of was in that love triangle with Huda or whatever. I didn't get it. I don't know whether Alandria was doing this on behalf of Huda or whether she was being honest, but it didn't make sense. So the islanders come back to the villa, and everyone sort of goes off into their little couples. You have Pepe and Hannah. Pepe and Hannah are having a conversation because she feels some type of way about the way Huda's been behaving because she feels disrespected at the end of the day, in the sense that she's been the person sort of consoling Huda, and yet Huda suddenly is turning against her and sort of going after her guy. That's the impression that I get. And so she's sort of debating whether to have a conversation. I think Hannah comes across as a non-confrontational person, so she doesn't know how to sort of start this dialogue in regards how to go about it to tell, Huda that I'm not comfortable with what you're doing. Huda on her part is sitting with Taylor and Alandria. I don't know whether she's very close to Taylor of all the guys in the villa, or I don't know, or whether production just told her to go there. Because they're sitting down having a conversation with her, and she's saying the only two people she can explore a connection with are Pepe and TJ, otherwise everybody else she can't. And so I love that Alandria asked her that, yes, you've been going after, you know, um, Pepe, have you spoken to Hannah first? Have you asked her that, or just told her, not even to ask her for permission, but have you told her that this is where I'm open to exploring a connection? Do you mind if I explore things with this guy? Because everybody knows that Hannah was the person who was there for Huda when she was breaking down, and for Huda to excuse it and say, "Oh well, this is I'm new to sort of having chats, so you have to bear with me. Some of these things that I don't know." So now that I know them, I will try my best to speak to her. And it's like, you know it. You were kicking off when you coupled up with Jeremiah, when people were trying to explore connections with Jeremiah. So don't pretend like suddenly you're blindsided. This is something you didn't know. You're in the villa, you've seen people pull each other for and sort of ask for permission or just acknowledge the current partner to say, this is what I'm going to do. So please don't pretend to be naive. I didn't like that bit. You then had Nick sitting with Sierra and Shirley and Ace. And Ace was saying, every time Huda was crying or upset, Hannah is the one who was running after her. So I don't get how she felt it was appropriate for her to suddenly go after Hannah's guy. And it's like, this is what everybody else is thinking. I love that Nick, the HCP in him, assessed Huda and he said, I feel like, everybody's crapping on Huda. I think we need to give her grace because at the end of the day, she's shown growth. She didn't swear or name call on Jeremiah during the challenge. That shows growth with her. Even after she spilled milk on him, she said sorry. So it shows growth. So we need to, step back and sort of give her a moment. Otherwise, it looks like we're piling on her for no apparent reason. And it's like, if that's what you think, hey, good for you. The girls get ready for the night, the boys get ready for the night. And so people are just reflecting on the challenge and how it went and where they stand. Anyway, once they pick up their drinks, you have Austin go and sit down with Jeremiah because I think that's his closest friend in the villa at the moment. You have Iris go and sit down with um, Amaya for a chat. And so it was interesting that they are looking at the same relationship from different perspectives because you had this said before when they were in the bedrooms where Amaya was saying that, she's in a very good space. She's happy that she's with someone who really wants to couple up with her. She's not forcing herself on someone. Whereas on his part, Austin was complaining to the guys that, Amaya is a bit too much. And so he says the same thing to Jeremiah that, already it's only been 2 days and we're locked in. Yes, I know I said I wanted someone who's all about me, but at the moment I think it's a bit too much. And it's like, which is it? Do you want someone who's all about you or do you want someone who puts you in a love triangle? You have to make your mind up. You can't sort of be floating between the two. You can't be saying you want to be in a you don't want to be in a love triangle. You want someone who's all about you. Then you get the person who's all about you. Then you complain that why is this person all about me? Make up your mind and sort of deal with it. So it's really sad, and I feel sorry for Amaya because her stay in the villa hasn't been the best. She should have been open to exploring with Charlie because then she would have saved herself the situation she's in, and maybe Charlie would have bounced back to Hannah, but still, at least that would have given her an opportunity to see where she stands. We finally get to see Huda and Hannah sit down for a chat. And that should have been a masterclass for Huda on how to react when someone is speaking to your guy. Because with, Hannah, she wasn't confrontational, she wasn't disrespectful, she wasn't yelling, screaming, or shouting, or crying, or derogatory. She just sat there and listened. With the face that said we listen and we don't judge. And then I think Hannah doesn't like confrontation. I really do. Because at the end of the day, she should have said something. Yes, she brought up the fact that, I thought we were close, this, that, and the other, but she should have held Huda's feet to the fire at the end of the day because this is what Huda was doing to everybody else around her in the villa. So why should she get a pass? Yes, I know she had a breakdown on TV and it's never a good thing and she's just recuperating, but still, she needed to have her feet held to the fire because Taylor held her feet to the fire more about that situation than the person who's in the situation who's going around telling everybody else that she's offended but won't tell her that. That's not a good look. You then have TJ go for a chat with Sierra, and Nick went for a chat with Alandria. What do I think? I think this couple, okay, what do I think? I think the connection between Nick and Sierra is being used, or they're being used as the other option for the new bombshells. This is the impression that I get. I think, yes, they enjoy speaking to the new bombshells, but I don't think romantically there's that connection, especially after they've had SCX. I feel like production wants us to be unsure of who the bombshells are going to pick, and this is why they've decided to tag team in sort of Nick and Sierra because yeah, the conversations were good. You had Sierra and TJ realizing that they both like sport and they seem to have a lot of things in common, but still at the end of the day, there is no romantic connection. Even for Nick, yes, there was the passionate kiss that they shared, but I still think for Nick, his number one is still Sierra, and for Sierra, her number one is Nick. And I don't think the new bombshells are going to split them up, but they're being used as a plan B in case just like I think if they have their way, the bombshells will pick Iris and Jeremiah. That's the impression that I get. But the producers don't want it to be that obvious. This is why they've tagged him in another couple. That's the impression that I get. You have Huda go for a chat to soul ties with TJ. TJ is just humoring her. I think TJ was put off by the way she reacted during her escapades with Jeremiah, and I don't know whether any guy will walk into the villa and consider exploring anything romantically with her until Huda goes for counseling and is healed. And sadly, because she's on the show doesn't have enough time to give her the therapy that she needs in order for someone to walk in. I feel in her best interest, I would go home. You then have Austin and Amaya having a conversation. It was really sad because Amaya is very happy. She's very giddy. She's very sort of in this space that I found my person. And yet, it's not the same situation with Austin. Austin has already complained to Jeremiah that he thinks she's a bit too much. He thinks that once she's into someone, she goes all in, and he doesn't feel he's in that position to sort of give her what she needs, which is really sad for her because it seems none of the guys have really sort of given her what she's needed. So it's been a wasted journey to come onto Love Island, in my opinion. You finally have Jeremiah go to Soul Ties with Alandria, and I loved it for them. I love it. I think this is the sort of type of person that Jeremiah wants. Yes, she's got the same features. She's Latina. She's got big lips, big bum, everything that he wants. But at the same time, I think she gives him that emotional stability that he's been looking for in a connection. Whereas with Huda, I think it was too fast, too quick. And this is why it became very messy. So I can actually see them working as a couple. I don't know how long it will last, but I can actually see them as a couple. I can't wait. Apparently, there's a vote for favorite girl and favorite boy. And I really feel sorry for Amaya because even if she stays in the villa, I don't know whether she'll find her person in there because it seems the guys have been put off by her sort of being all in with a guy. Most people would want someone who's all in with them, but it seems the guys are not feeling it. Anyway, thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And click the link in my video to watch my review from episode 14. Bye guys.